Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Hurricane Milton and really the aftermath of this massive storm that basically put the entire Bay Area in the crosshairs, and we are seeing some of those devastating impacts each hour.
Yes, the day after, and it's then and more of what we expected to see. You want to go back out to Brittany Muller. She was in Bradenton earlier, and I think she's going to talk to the Bradenton Police Chief right now. Brittany, those two other folks you had earlier, though, they just they almost put me at peace.
They inspired.
I mean, it was something to listen to their view of what happened in their neighborhood and how they're all pulling together. But what have you found for us in Palmetto?
Well, I have to tell you, Keith and Jen, this is our job. This is after a storm. Neighbors are helping neighbors. We're sharing inspiring stories of people rebuilding and waiting to rebuild their communities right now. Joining me live right now in Palmetto is Bradenton Police Chief Melanie Bevan. Thank you for your time. I know you're a busy woman, and your department actually evacuated last night. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that was a significant undertaking. This storm for us started 3 days ago when we realized that it was wobbling towards us. We made the decision. We have a Miami Vice type police department. It's right on the water, very old, really only built to withstand a Category 2. When we saw us going up to 3, 4, or 5, we realized it was time to go. Not an easy undertaking. 45,000 pieces of property and evidence had to be moved from there to a very secure location. We just purchased new guns, had to move those, uniforms, everything that could keep us operating. If we lost that building, we had to move. So we've really been 24/7 for several days.
Chief, I know you're exhausted. What have you noticed? But you're going around your city. What are the major concerns at this hour?
You know, we're still coming off the heels of Hurricane Helene, and that really smacked this region and the city pretty hard. 700 homes were lost. Water intruded up to 4 feet in some houses, and so as bad as that was, here comes this. I will tell you, what we feared would be the worst didn't quite happen. I think everybody realizes it could have been a lot worse for us. We didn't get the storm surge we saw with Helene. This time we got the wind, and my, what a wind it was last night.
It's unbelievable. We're sharing those stories this morning, and people are in dire need. They're dealing with devastation from Helene and Milton at this hour. What would be your message to the residents?
Listen, I saw some great stories play out, not only with my officers this morning, who, as soon as those winds dropped below 40, they were out there with chainsaws and straps. There was a family that was pinned down. A tree had fallen on their house, and my officers went out there, and those conditions weren't great, right? We were still getting 70-mile-an-hour gusts. Sawed their way through, rescued that family, brought them to safety. But law enforcement's not the only folks doing this. Today, I was yelling at everybody out when they see some branches in the road in front of a house, pulled out chainsaws and went to cutting. I asked them, do you live here? And they said, no, we're just trying to help. That's what makes Bradenton the city it is. It's awesome. Isn't
that unbelievable to see? This storm also impacted you and your family. Talk to me about that.
It did. You know, I keep saying, though, I'm blessed and I'm grateful. When the floodwaters came, I live above my garage. 3 feet into my garage. I was telling folks, when the dumpster came and I filled it up, it carted my childhood away, everything that I stored down there from my kids, my family. And so we were just recovering from some of that damage. And here came this. We actually are on the river over in Ellington. That's why I'm talking to you in Palmetto. I'm on my way there. I've already been home, and some significant damage, but again, I can still go in my front door. I don't have electricity, minimal damage to the inside of my house. I only lost one door, one window, and some people lost so much more, and just how blessed we are not to have to be dealing with that catastrophic but that we're seeing in some other places.
We know Bradenton Police, fire rescue officials, task force, urban search and rescue, the Florida National Guard have all been deployed to this area. What are the major needs right now?
I think not only do we have downed power lights or intersection lights really everywhere, and when I say downed, I mean they're dangling, right? So it's a dangerous situation. Hopefully everybody's treating it as a stop and go. But when electricity goes out, give it a couple days, people, really start getting frustrated. It's hot. It's cool right now because this hurricane brought in this cold front. I don't suspect that's going to last. I will tell you my message to folks coming into Bradenton who don't live there and are looking for opportunities to prey upon our city residents is watch yourself, because I've got a lot of cops here. We are on the lookout for people who might think about looting or stealing or anything because they realize that folks aren't into their homes yet, and stay away.
We can't have people preying on vulnerable people right now. Talk to me about emergency services were suspended last night because the winds were way too strong. Once crews were able to go back on the roads and they were safe, what did they find? Did they have to rescue anyone?
As I mentioned, we have the down tree in the house, and this morning our folks started spreading out. Not as much as you would have thought. We really suspected we would have a lot more devastation than we did. If it hadn't done that wobble to the south, I'd be looking at a much dire circumstances. But all in all, I've been a police officer for 38 years. I've responded to recovery efforts. Probably the worst one was Charlie, and I've seen devastation. I've seen houses just completely flattened. We're not seeing that here, not in this area. A lot of downed trees, signs, all kinds of debris everywhere, but the houses, generally speaking, are still intact. And so we didn't have that life recovery that we suspected, and thank goodness for that. Thank God for that. But I will tell you, this city, the city of Bradenton, we worked tirelessly every corner of this city, from public works to fire to administration, to make sure that whatever happened today come daylight, that we were ready for it. And it was, I guess, a good exercise. It's still going to be a lot of work, but it wasn't as bad as we thought.
Thank you so much for your time. We know that you're exhausted. We know that you're so busy. And, it's first responders that we're so grateful to right now across Manatee County, across the state of Florida. It's amazing to see that response, and we really couldn't do it without you and your team. So thank you for that. We're going to be live throughout Manatee County throughout the day, and we'll bring you more stories here from Bradenton, Palmetto in a few minutes. But for now, I'll send it back to you, Jen and Keith.